Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In the previous video, I have emphasized that manipulation occur in stages. I named this stage the carrying game. To recap, the stage or phase are made up of 5 phases, which are scouting, disarming, invasion, guidance, and chain. To make it easier to remember, I invented the phrase carrying games is dangerously simple. In my first video, I explained briefly what the 4 phases of scouting, disarming, invasion, and guidance mean. On my third and fourth video for this channel, I explain more in detail on what scouting and disarming is all about. The link toward the video is here, respectively. For today's video, I want to dive more into what invasion is all about. To demonstrate and to explain this concept easier, I will use one of the scenes from the Game of Thrones, which feature the character Tyrion Lannister versus Daenerys Targaryen, the Dragon Queen. We will analyze 2 of these characters. Unlike the previous video, I want to try a new way. First, I'm going to play the related scene from the start to end, while having the manipulation technique pop up on the screen. After that only, we will go slow and analyze the technique step by step. Now let us play the scene.
How do I know you are who you say you are?
If only I were otherwise.
If you are Tyrion Lannister, why shouldn't I kill you? To pay your family back for what it did to mine.
You want revenge against the Lannisters? I killed my mother, Joanna Lannister, on the day I was born. I killed my father, Tywin Lannister, with a bolt to the heart. I am the greatest Lannister killer of our time.
So I should welcome you into my service because you murdered members of your own family.
Into your service? Your Grace, we have only just met. It's too soon to know if you deserve my service.
If you'd rather return to the fighting pits, just say the word.
When I was a young man, I heard a story about a baby born during the worst storm in living memory. She had no wealth, no lands, no army, only a name, and a handful of supporters, most of whom probably thought they could use that name to benefit themselves. They kept her alive, moving her from place to place, often hours ahead of the men who'd been sent to kill her. She was eventually sold off to some warlord on the edge of the world, and that appeared to be that. And then, a few years later, the most well-informed person I knew told me that this girl, without wealth, lands, or armies, had somehow acquired all 3 in a very short span of time, along with 3 dragons. He thought she was our best, last chance to build a better world. Thought you were worth meeting at the very least.
And why are you worth meeting? Why should I spend my time listening to you?
Because you cannot build a better world on your own. You have no one at your side who understands the land you want to rule, the strengths and weaknesses of the houses that will either join or oppose you.
I will have a very large army. And very large dragons.
Killing and politics aren't always the same thing. When I served as Hand of the King, I did quite well with the latter, considering the king in question preferred torturing animals to leading his people. I could do an even better job, advising a ruler worth the name, if that is indeed what you are.
So you want to advise me? Very well.
Did you follow through? Now let me go step by step. Let's play the scene again, and I pause on the relevant part.
How do I know you are who you say you are?
If only I were otherwise.
The invasion tactics in this scene start with a tactic called the burden of proof, initiated by Daenerys Targaryen when she say, "How do I know you are what you say you are?" Now, before I continue to tell you what burden of proof is, allow me to recap what invasion phase is in the caring game. The simplest way for me to explain the invasion phase in a way that is easier to understand is through the effect that invasion phase can bring to their victim. When manipulators succeed in invasion phase, the victim will feel self-doubt, less confident, and lower self-esteem or self-image. These are among the key effects of the invasion phase. How do you make your victim feel self-doubt, less confidence, and lower self-esteem or self-image? You might ask. You compete with them, and that's what invasion phase is mainly about, which is you compete and you place yourself as the winner or on the winning side. Unlike the typical idea of competing and winning, in manipulation, to explain this briefly, the way you win is by making the victim think that you are greater than them and the victim are lower than you are. The way you influence the victim thought to think like that is by making them feel self-doubt, less confident about themselves, and having them lower self-esteem or them having lower self-image about themselves. Now, what about disarming phase, you may ask? In disarming phase, if it is done successfully, the victim will feel safe, comfort, and happy. Of course, there's more to say in the disarming phase and invasion phase of the caring game. But for now, I want you to focus on those key areas, which is the feeling when the invasion phase and disarming phase is done correctly on the victim. How the victim feel when invasion phase and disarming phase succeed is the key. So let me recap. When disarming phase are successful, the victim will feel safe, comfortable, and happy. When the invasion phase is successful, the victim will feel self-doubt, lower confidence, and lower self-esteem and self-image about themselves. Now, back to the burden of proof. What does it have to do with invasion phase? Firstly, let me tell what burden of proof is all about. To simplify, when you ask for a proof on a person, you are using burden of proof tactics. It basically means when you ask for a proof, you don't believe what the person is telling or showing you, especially when they try to show that they are greater than you, and whatever the person is telling or showing you, there is no effect on you. Therefore, the person needs to make an effort to provide the proof. A person with confidence and high self-esteem and self-image does not provide proof, especially on trivial matter. When a person tries to provide proof, especially on trivial matters, it means they doubt themselves. How do you counter when people try to use burden of proof on you? Look at Tyrion Lannister reply when Daenerys Targaryen asked him, "How do I know you are what you say you are?" He replied, "If only I were otherwise." Basically, he does not make any effort to prove himself, and that's how you counter the tactic. Now let us continue.
You are Tyrion Lannister. Why shouldn't I kill you? To pay your family back for what it did to mine.
You want revenge against the Lannisters? I killed my mother, Joanna Lannister, on the day I was born. I killed my father, Tywin Lannister, with a bolt to the heart. I am the greatest Lannister killer of our time.
The next tactics Daenerys Targaryen used on Tyrion Lannister consists of two tactics, which are the double bind and discrediting. In double bind, it basically means you give a lose-lose option to the target. In this case, the lose-lose situation that Tyrion Lannister faces is his character as well as reputation. And this is where discrediting tactic comes. Discrediting is to attack people's reputation, to defame the person, and so on. Tyrion Lannister comes from the Lannister family, a very great family, a very rich and powerful family. In the Game of Thrones series, simply by telling people you are from Lannister family, strike fear as well as respect for most people. Daenerys Targaryen accused Tyrion Lannister that his family killed her family, which means the Lannister is nothing more than a killer, a criminal, a bad family, and that the Lannister deserve to be punished and killed, including Tyrion Lannister himself. So what happens if Tyrion Lannister say, "Yes, I am what I told you, that I am from the Lannister family," to Daenerys Targaryen? This can mean, instead of Tyrion coming from a great family, he is coming from a bad family. And therefore, Daenerys Targaryen has a green light and justification to kill Tyrion Lannister. In this kind of situation, if we are in Tyrion's place, we do intend to avoid being sentenced to die, don't we all? However, if Tyrion Lannister cower and say, "No, I am not from the Lannister family. Sorry, but I'm wrong. I misspoke. I'm not from the Lannister family," then he is a liar, and therefore he is no longer trustworthy. What if Tyrion Lannister argued and said he has nothing to do with the act of his family killing Daenerys Targaryen family? Remember the burden of proof tactic? Ask yourself, how do you see people who try so hard to give proof to people? Do you think people who are always trying so hard to prove to others are powerful and confident individuals? If Tyrion Lannister argue and say, "What does my family have to do with me? I'm innocent." Of course, Daenerys will say, "How do I know you are innocent and have no part in killing my family? How do I know?" Which lead to the burden of proof tactic. Tyrion Lannister have to prove himself, or otherwise he is not believable, not trustworthy. Now back to Tyrion Lannister, which is either way. If he answer yes or no, both of the answer will inflict damage to Tyrion Lannister's self-image, and perhaps even self-esteem, as Lannister is accused of being a killer. Remember what invasion phase effect is. When manipulators succeed in the invasion phase, it inflicts self-doubt, less confidence, and low self-esteem or self-image toward the target. How does Tyrion Lannister counter this tactic of double bind and discrediting? For now, the simplest explanation is by simply creating the third option, or reframing the entire interaction. Reframing is another big topic that I will include in the video in the future. Anyway, that is all for today's video. I really do hope this video is very beneficial for you. The part 2 of this video will be released soon, where we will look more on Tyrion Lannister arsenal of tactics in the invasion phase. Thank you for watching, and I see you next time. Take care.